Hi everybody, how's it going? I've wanted to switch to the thumb pick more and more, but there's nothing like a Jazz 3. Even this guy right here that's almost a Jazz 3 that's just stuck on your thumb. It's got a little bit of a different tone than a... I don't know if you can hear it, but to me, the Jazz 3 has a little bit more of a thud that I love. But this is a fantastic invention because it allows me to switch from playing the bass lines with my thumb to playing a regular thumb pick. Just feels a little bit different than my old favorite. So the Fred Kelly Bumblebee pick, it's sort of like gluing a Jazz 3 to your thumb. So the way I hold my Jazz 3s a lot of times is they kind of point that way. But the Fred Kelly pick, you can see I'm getting some of that angle. That's one of the main differences between the way a regular thumb pick sits and the way this sits, is I can adjust that angle so that I just have a little bit like that. So anyway, I didn't mean to do a pick review here. I just want to share with you how I size and shape this thing to fit my thumb comfortably. So let me play that for you now. Okay, I'm going to show you how I take this pick. It's a little bit tight on my finger there. If I try to play with it, for like a whole set of music, it's too tight right along there. And also, for the way I play, this little piece on the yellow side, it sticks out too far. It wants to catch on the string. So I'm going to show you how I resize this and customize it for me. So what I do is I take a socket. This is the third one I've done. This is a 9mm socket. I did a 10mm. Fits great. It might be a little bit loose. I can't decide. Also did an 8mm, and with the 8mm, it might be a little bit tight. So I'm thinking I'm going to do this one with a 9mm, and it's going to be perfect. So I'm going to use my electric kettle here and put a little water in there. Let that come up to boil. I have ice water here. I'm going to have 2 cups going. This one's going to have the boiling water. I'm going to let it cool off for just like 10 seconds, just right under boiling. Don't know if you need to do that. It's just what I've been doing, and so far I've had success with this. So what I'm going to do is take this socket and I'm just going to stick it in there just like that, and then I'm going to hold this with needle nose pliers and just submerge the yellow part for the most part. Again, I don't know if you need to do this, but I don't want to weaken the little pivot point where the plectrum part's hooked on, so I'm going to avoid heating this area right here. Alright, here comes the boiling water. That ought to be plenty. Now I'm just going to go for it. I don't know if you can tell on the camera, but it's submerged right up to the pick. So the yellow, the part of the band, the yellow part that actually squeezes your thumb, is underwater. I'm going to hold this here for a minute. Alright, now I'm going to go right into the ice water. I'm just going to let it go in there. Now I'll leave it in the ice water for another half a minute or a minute. I basically just want everything to contract in that new shape. Pull this thing out. I feel it. It feels ice cold. That's perfect. I can actually see that it's opened up a little bit. Let me dry it off. Much nicer fit. Much better. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to trim off this plastic right here. You can see it says Fred Kelly on it. Right there you can see the logo. I'm going to cut off the tip right at about the point at the end of the logo. I'm going to try these little wire cutting nippers. The first one I did, I used fingernail clipper. That didn't work very, I mean, it worked, but I felt like I was going to break the fingernail clippers. Then I used scissors, and that left the cut a little bit rigid. So we're going to try these. So I'm just going to go right in here, and perfect. Maybe I'll shape it up just a little bit around the edge here. I'm just going to shape it up a little bit because I'm going to file it. The less work I actually have to do with the file, the better. I could do the rest of the file. Okay, so I've got a triangle file and a little square of 400 grit sandpaper. So, oh, and a note card. And the note card is just going to act as a protectant for the actual pick part because I don't want to scrape it up. So what I'm going to do is just fix up these edges a little bit. You could do this with a nail file. You could just use sandpaper. Just rounding it off. Let's see how that feels. Oh, I could use a little bit more. I'll use a little bit more on the inside. See how that feels. It's a little pointy right here. I'm just gonna clean that up just for looks. And there's another spot that's a little bit pointy. Good enough. And the other pointy spot right here on this edge. Alright, that looks pretty good. Now I'm just going to clean it up with a little bit of 400 grit. Let's see what that feels like. Nice and smooth, nice and smooth. Maybe a little bit right here. Looks good and fits comfortably. I can get it right up where I'm holding it in the same place I would hold a Jazz 3, and that's the goal here. Jazz 3 thumb pick is what I'm going for. Now the last thing I'm going to do here is come in and write the number 9 right here. My Sharpie barely works. That's good enough. So I've done with a 10mm socket and an 8mm socket, and now a 9. So that way, up until the point this Sharpie wears off, I'll be able to compare and know which socket for sizing it works the best for me. So if you're going to experiment with it, you have to be able to tell which one was which. So these are the 3 I customized for myself. The 10's what I've been using the most. I wouldn't call it loose, it's not going to fall off, but I felt like it could hold on a little better. The 9 is just a little bit tighter. It's probably perfect. And the 8, it's a little bit too tight. And I think I can just put the 9mm socket in there and go through the process. I'm not going to continue to size up the 8 quite yet. I'm going to spend some time playing with the 9 and the 10 and see if they break in and loosen up more. If they do, then they might end up too loose, and 8 might be the way. You might just have to break it in. I'm not sure yet. My experience with these types of materials is that they don't break in so easily, so we'll have to see. Okay, so since I filmed that footage, this one was the one marked 10, this is the one marked 9. The one marked 9 feels a little tight. The 10 is still my favorite one. I might do the process again to this one and use 9 again. It really felt like after it sat for a night, it tightened back up some. Maybe it's just because I'm using the one that was around the 10mm socket more because it's the most comfortable to me. But the 9, when I first finished this thing, and practiced with it, it felt good. But the next day I woke up and it felt a little tight. So my advice would be to just buy a couple of packs of them and experiment. But I think I'm going to do all of them with the 10mm socket. Now, interestingly, the Dunlop thumb picks, the best way I've found to do these is the hot water bath and then put it on your thumb and stick that in the cold water. When you try to do these around a socket, sometimes they open up too much. So anyway, that is how I shape and size these Fred Kelly Bumblebee picks to fit my thumb the way I like them. Thanks so much for tuning in and hanging out and talking about music with me. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you don't already. I'm Birdsnake. Thanks for watching.